Hello, this is going to be the start of a 5-part series on grading, Civil 3D grading. This first part is going to be on alignments. Next, the second part will be on profiles, and we'll get into the actual grading section, which will be surfaces and grading. And then we'll be talking about feature line grading and grading groups and corridor basics. In this video, all I'm going to be discussing is alignments. So let's get started. So alignments are a combination of lines, curves, and spirals that are viewed as one singular object. This object is typically used to represent road center lines or pipe network center or pipe center lines or construction control lines or construction baselines. Another way to think about an alignment along with a profile would be a section line. You can use an alignment to create a section of the earth itself. There's two different ways, like I mentioned, or a couple different ways you could create alignments. So one of them being using existing polylines, lines, things like that. Another way could be using alignment tools. And so first off, I'm going to show you how to create an alignment based off existing polyline. And then I'll go into using alignment creation tools to create an alignment. So to get started, so I have this parking lot and building design here that I've already drawn up. So with this, I'm going to use this red line here as my alignment. So this will be represented as my road center line. So what I'll do so as long as you have Civil 3D, in your ribbon under the Create Design panel, you'll see alignment here. So we'll start out with Create Alignment from Objects. And this is it's asking to select the first line, arc, or polyline, or you can also do it from an XREF. So I'll go ahead and select my red line here. And then I'll hit enter. And it'll pop up with this arrow. This arrow is telling you the direction from start to finish of where your alignment is going. So this would be the start of it. This will be the end of it. And if I wanted to reverse it and have it go from here to here, then I can hit reverse and it'll flip the arrow around. But in this case, I wanted to start from the bottom because this would be considered my main road. I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter. And you'll get the Create Alignment from Objects dialog box. This is where it is asking you to enter the name of your alignment. And it'll always default to alignment dash and then counter. And it's just counting from 1. So if you have more than 1, then it'll be 1, 2, 3, and so on. So in this case, I'm going to do road dash CL for center line. And the next thing here is the type. So depending on what type of alignment that you're trying to create, in my case, it's a center line, but you could have an offset. So an offset could be like the front face of the curb, or if you had, let's see, maybe you had a sidewalk, like you're trying to do the back of the sidewalk along your alignment and create an alignment for that. You could do that as well. You could also do a curb return. Curb return is used in corridors, which is a future video, and I don't think I'll even get into curb returns. It is much more complicated. Rail, something that I've not personally done, but this is for designing railroad tracks. And miscellaneous. Miscellaneous typically would be your pipe center line. So if you have a brand new water main that you're designing, then it'll fall under center or miscellaneous. You could do center line, but typically center line would be reserved for road center lines. So I'm going to go ahead and select center line. If you wanted to do description, you could do so. And maybe that's describing what road it's on, or what road it starts from and where it ends, or um, maybe it describes what the um, asphalt um, depths and what type of asphalt it is, and whatever you may want it to be. So with alignments, you have stationing. Um, Somewhat complicated to explain, but it always starts from the format for this is 0 plus 0.00. So if you had this as, let's say, 0 plus 0.00, that's going to be 1 foot. So if we instead had, oops, put a 0 there and 1 there. So if you had 0 plus 10.00, that's going to be 10 feet. If you had 1 plus 0.00, that's going to be 100 feet. And so on. The more zeros you add, the more it's going to be. 10 plus 00 is going to be 1,000 feet. 100 plus 00 is going to be 10,000 feet, whatever it may be. So if you start at 0 plus 00, and let's say it's 100 foot, the road is 100 feet long, then it'll be 1 plus 00 is going to be your end station. And this is how we get some accuracy and just an easy way to see or to describe where you're at along your alignment. And this is where a construction control line would come into play. So depending on your company's standards, or however you want to do it, I've always had it described to me that you never start at 0 plus 00. I've done it for very specific cases, things that are not going to end up on plans, but those are just design files to create my grading, or just a temporary alignment for profile, or just whatever. It's never actually been used. I've never actually used 0 plus 00 for a drawing itself. So in this case, I'm going to start at 10 plus 00. So the next thing is sites. I'm not going to go into in depth on this. I'm going to assume that you know what this is, but it's just a way of separating drawings, or separating Civil 3D objects so that they don't interact with each other. Then we have our alignment style. Our alignment style would be similar to a text style, or a multi-leader style, how you want it to show up, what line type you want it to use, what labels you want it to use, how it's going to look, anything like that. That's what style is going to be. In this case, I'm going to use proposed, but you could have layout. Intersection goes along with curb returns. Existing, if this is an existing roadway. Basic is just a generic Autodesk created style. And then offset, if you had an offset alignment. So I'm going to go with proposed. By default, it sets it to this layer, the alignment layer. So it'll set it to C-road. So I'm going to go ahead and select this if I want to change it. And you could click on this button here to select, look through all the layers in your drawing to find the one that you want. In this case, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to use suffix. And one thing in Civil 3D that you can do for naming Civil 3D objects is, if you do an asterisk, it will use the name of the object that you're creating. So I'm going to do dash star. So now you can see that it auto-filled it to be C-road centerline CL. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then alignment label set. So this is going to, your alignment labels is how it's going to be displayed. So typically you want to see the station numbers, your major and minor. So major being, um, let's say 10, 11, 12, 13, and so on. And your minor would be 10 plus 50, 11 plus 50, 12 plus 50. So that would be, in this case, 1,050 feet, 1,150 feet, 1,250 feet, and so on. So these are some default labels that are just out of the box when you download Civil 3D. So this would be major and minor horizontal and vertical geometry and super elevation points. Major and minor horizontal and vertical geometry points, major and minor only, major and minor geometry points. I'm going to go ahead and select this. So a geometry point would be a grip, a vertex, if you want to call it that, or whatever, a PVI. So I'm going to select major and minor geometry points. Next, conversion options. So if this first checkbox is checked, it will, if there's two lines that are tangent to each other, it'll create a curve between those tangents at a default radius that you set. In this case, I don't want it to do that. I already created my curves with my polyline, and so it's how I want it to be. The next thing is erase existing entities. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do that so I don't have an alignment with a polyline beneath it. I don't want any overlapping lines. Then there's another tab in here, design criteria. This is something that I have not personally worked with, but you can set the design speed for this road. So in this case, it's defaulting to 60 miles an hour. This uses AASHTO 2011 US customary for a 2-lane road. So I'm not going to deal with this. This would change and give you warnings within your alignment if it does not meet the AASHTO standards. In this case, I don't care about it. This is just going up to a parking lot. I'll just have some trucks and whatever. I don't even think a truck could make it up there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And you can see that we now have a bunch of new labels, and we have my line change colors, my labels are different color, and I have these warnings. So the warnings themselves are, so if we go ahead and go to the, so I personally hate seeing these. These are giving us warnings about that we are not following some guidelines that are set up for this. I don't want to see it. I'm going to go ahead and hit that right there. That did not make it go away. Unfortunate. Oh, I know what this is. So this is set up in my alignment style. So go through that again. So I'm going to go ahead and select my alignment, right click, edit alignment style. I'm going to go down to warning symbol at the very bottom. I'm going to go ahead and check that to make it, turn it off. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off line extensions, and I'm going to turn off curve extensions, and I don't have any spirals, so I'll go ahead and turn that off. And then in markers, I have, I go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and select all of these because I do not, oh, it's unfortunate. Okay. So I'm going to change this to none because that's going to be, should be mine. Nope. For now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I don't know which one it is. It is in one of the markers. But basically these dots that are showing up are the extension of the tangent, or the extension point of these two lines. So now to quickly go over some of these labels that you see showing up here. So these are going to be our geometry points. So this is beginning of it. This is beginning of a curve. So the end of the line and beginning of a curve. Curve goes through, and then my curve ends, and it's another endpoint in my alignment. So all of these are geometry points. There's something changing in my geometry along my alignment at those points. It's giving me the station number. So quickly explain the stationing again. So this is going to be, we're starting at 10 plus 0, 0. This is going to be 10 plus 94.30. So that is so that's 94.3 feet away. So if we were to measure that, go DI, go to there, and you can see that it is 94.3005. So it's only going to 2 decimal places, which is what you're seeing there. So that is creating an alignment through the in alignment from objects. So the next one, we're going to use alignment creation tools. So for, in this case, road -2. So again, I'll make it a center line. I'll start this one from 0 plus 0, 0. I'll change this style just so it'll show up differently. And again, I'm going to create a suffix for the layer name. And this creates a brand new layer with the name that you see here. So it starts with the base layer name and adds the suffix automatically using the dash star of dash road and then my alignment name. So I'll do major and minor only in this case. So once I hit OK, you see this window pop up. So this is your alignment tools. We have a whole bunch of different things. I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but I'll go over some of these quickly. So draw a tangent without curve, tangent with curve, curve and spiral settings. This is your insert PI. A PI is a point of intersection. This is going to be delete PI. This one here is going to be break apart PI. So if you have 2 points, so let's say where this curve meets, you could break the PI right here. So this is going to be creating a fixed line between 2 points, fixed line from curve and length, fixed line best fit, floating line from curve and length, floating line best fit, free line between 2 curves. In this case, I'm just going to do fixed line between 2 points. Click 1, click 2, and now I have my line. I'll go ahead and hit escape, and you can see that I now created a new alignment. So it looks different because it is a different alignment style, and we do not get these geometry points because I selected the major and minor labels only. So now if I want to do a curve, I'm going to do, in this case I'll do, there's going to be advantages to each one of these. I highly recommend going online, looking up on the Autodesk website to find what each one of these do. Fixed curve means that you can't change the radius. So it's good if you know it's not going to change, but it's bad if you potentially are going to have to change it. But go through online on Autodesk website, you can find each one of these. So I will do let's see. I'm going to go ahead and just do a fixed curve. So I'll select that, second point, and third point. So this is how you are able to change the radius, but the fixed curve generally is a little bit more or less lenient in the modifications that you can do with it. Um, I do use them most often, but they're not necessarily the best to use in all cases. So I personally don't like this, so I'm going to quickly change the alignment style. So I'm going to right click or select my alignment, right click, edit alignment style, go to display. And I don't like that the curve is a different color, so I'm going to go ahead and change the color of the curve. And then again, I'm going to get rid of the warning symbol. Tangent extensions, turn off all of these. So all I get is just my line with my curve. So what I'll do quickly is I'll go ahead and draw another line, and let's say it goes something like that. Hit escape. Now I created another line so you can see I have a line segment, and a curve in between. But let's say I didn't want to do that last line segment and I didn't like it, and I don't want to have to undo because maybe I did a whole bunch of other stuff from that since I last drew that line. I'm going to go ahead and select this button here, delete sub entity. Go ahead and select that, hit escape, and now that line is gone. So I have had some issues, and I warn you, um, try to avoid deleting something in the middle of it. I have had issues where it'll just, you can reconnect them in most cases, but I've recently had an issue where it would not recognize it won't continue the stationing. So if this was at 3, it would end up wanting to just start back at 0 at this point and basically have two separate alignments. So just be cautious when you're doing that and deleting those. So again, I'm not going to go through, just for time's sake, I'm not going to go through each one of these. This button here is for adding spirals. Spirals, I believe, are going to be for vertical elevation through a curve. This button here, free compound spiral. This is going to be converting AutoCAD lines and arcs to be part of an alignment. So if you have a line and arcs that you've created and extended through just to kind of fit in. So let's quickly show that because that could be a helpful thing to know. So if I have something like this, I'll go ahead and do select convert AutoCAD line and arc. And that did not work. Maybe it's because it does not recognize polylines. There we go. It did not recognize polylines. So again, looking back at creating it, one of the things, creating it from an object, one of the things I did was do the checkbox to uh, delete existing entities. And that is because, as you can see right here, we have a line on top of a line. So we have our alignment that's on top of that line that we used to create that extended portion of the alignment. So that is creating alignments from objects. And that is using alignment layout tools to create an alignment. Some very basic uses. I showed one here. This is how we would create a center line for the road. So the nice thing about alignments is that we can give this point, this start point, could be a known point in the world that all surveyors would be able to find. And with that, they can use all of this information. We can tell them how long this is going to be. So it'll be 94.3 feet going at whatever angle and bearing that is. And they can mark this point. And then we can tell them the radius of this curve and where this point is. And they can now create this curve. So then that way they can go through and create this exact road and give us the exact center line so that the contractor can come in and build that road based on what we have given them here. So that is one use that you can do, and it's a very common use. It's all major highways, they have stationing and alignments that are used for those. Most freeways, they'll have one for one direction of travel and another for a different direction of travel. Could be a tiny little road that's just a 2 lane highway. And I've seen cases where it still does have one alignment that was going north and one alignment that was going south. And they had a third alignment that was just the center line of both lanes. It was the center line of the whole entire road, not just the lane. So that's one of the very useful things that you can do with alignments. Um, and another use that you could have is if you are creating a new water main. So let's say we had a situation where we have our major road going through here, driving both back and forth and so on, and we need to get water from here to service this building. So we can create an alignment that would follow something similar to this, but obviously water pipes are not going to be doing crazy curves like this. I mean, you could, but they're not going to be that tight of curves in most cases. Um, so you can create another one that'll have that would be an alignment that looks maybe something like this, and you go along, and maybe you need it to curve so that your point of connection for the building is somewhere here. You can now create an alignment with this and have your water pipe follow that alignment so that you can get water to your building as you need. And then again, the contractor can will be able to know this point here. They'll be able to figure out where this point is, and they'll know where this point of connection is from both the architect and the plumber and also us, so that they can go out there and put a stake in there and the contractor can build it exactly where you intend for it to be. Um, so those are some common uses and examples. And these can be used for sewer pipes, storm drain, um, sewer force main. It could be reclaimed water, normal water, irrigation lines, anything. Um, you can use them for railroads. You can have them um, for offsets. So if you want to offset your main alignment and have say have another sidewalk going along here, you can create an alignment for the back of the sidewalk. You can do almost anything. There's anything that you may need control over where exactly it's going to be. You can create an alignment for it and use that alignment as your basis. Um, Alignments are also really helpful for um, they can be used for corridors, which is something that could be talked about or will be talked about later on. Um, and there are all alignments are used to create profiles. And earlier on in this recording, I explained that you can think of an alignment as a section line, and that is the a profile is a section. So if you were to take this line and we had a surface, some elevation data for all of this area, you can use this line and imagine you're cutting straight down and putting and just looking at one half of it. That is what a profile is. So profiles will be the next video. Stay tuned. Hopefully later this week I'll get to that recording and get it uploaded as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments and let me know if you have any comments or maybe you have some corrections, something I said wrong. Because I am still learning. There's always going to be more to learn with Civil3D. There's just so much to learn. So let me know if I made a mistake and I'll gladly correct it. Um, And if you just have some questions, let me know. Thank you for watching.